Hey guys, welcome back to 5nothing100nothing.com. I am Fugget, and this is part 3 of how to publish your book. All right. So what we're going to get into with part 3 today is once you have everything written. Okay. Now you might have already had this book written. You might have already had a lot of your stuff down, but just didn't know how to proceed. But some of you may have started right from scratch and gotten down everything that you think you want to say. All right. So from here, once you've had everything written, you need to identify something. Do you have a book? Do you have an ebook, something smaller? Or do you have like a blog? So what I mean is, I'm not sure what you use for formatting as far as if you used Microsoft Word or if you did it longhand on notebook paper. I mean, my very first book I used notebook paper, and I had a lot more book than I thought. And I started at like 400 pages once it was formatted and got it down to something. But that's a story for another day. Anyways, once you have it down, you need to see if you have enough content. You know, maybe you have a booklet. You can publish a booklet as well. And we'll get into that as well. But your choice of formatting and as well as your font size is going to determine what you really have. So depending on how big you want your book to be as well, how long, how many pages, etc. Once you have that figured out, and it's going to depend on the genre, the type of book you have. I mean, if you have a novel, the thing is that it's not that important. But, I mean, if you've only got, once you format something to, say, a font 12 to 14 or, say, 16, and it ends up being formatted by traditional book standards, and you have 18 pages, I mean, you have a booklet. You might want to go a little bit smaller with your publishing size. But if you've got a pretty good, decent amount of content, then you probably have a book. And by decent, I don't know, could mean over 100 pages on Word format, could mean anything. But if you have questions, just message me and I'll definitely help you tackle that as well. But what you need to do now is you need to go through all the content that you've written, all of your text. And now that you've just mind dumped, if you really did it the way that I shared with you to do it, now you need to go through and see what belongs in this book. Okay. So what belongs in this book and what is in there that's specific to your message. So you might have went off on rabbit trails and identified that you have different content that's maybe for another book. I mean, if you've got 300, 400, 500 pages worth of content and you've cut and copied into another document, great. Now you've got material for another book. But going through and see what's relevant. You might have side stories, you might have other things, but if you really did it this way where you just got into a flow and started really getting down a lot of stuff where you're just in a zone, and before you know it, you look up at the clock and it's been 2-3 hours, then you definitely got into flow and you got down a lot of really good juicy stuff, right? So go through and see what's specific to your message. Okay, now you're going to have a first rough draft, and that is not the book yet. That is your first rough draft. That is, you've gone through, you figured out what belongs, what doesn't. You still haven't organized the content yet, and that's another piece of this puzzle. But you go through, you get out what doesn't belong there, you've cut and pasted, and I would put it in a document that you either call ideas or brainstorm ideas or book ideas, something like that. But don't just throw this away. Don't just look at it as just junk or something that was a ramble, because the ramble might actually be your bestseller or something that puts you on the map or gets you notoriety, to which your other books will then take off. So keep that content. Those are still pearls. I've never thrown out anything that I've written. I've always kept it somewhere. I'm not the most organized person or the sharpest tool in the shed, but I keep it all, because at some point in time in the future, it just might be relevant content for what I need or what I'm trying to do in the future. So keep all of that, you guys. All right. Again, I'm going to keep this short. This is part 3. you know, go through, do that work. It's real easy for me to say, but I know it's a hell of a lot harder for you to actually do. So go through, do that, figure out what you have. Do you have a book, an ebook, a booklet, a blog? And then have you went through and taken out the content that doesn't belong and might be used in a future information piece for yourself, okay? That's it. And then in the next video, guys, for part 4, what we're going to do is we're going to get into, once you have the relevant content to this book or to this information product, what you're going to want to do is start to organize your chapters, okay? Organize it, figure out how many chapters you have, how to lay it out. We're going to get into some detail with that. We're also going to talk about book formatting. So, you know, how do you want it to look on the page? What size do you want to use? How big is your book going to be? Is it going to be a booklet? Is it going to be a standard traditional size, like a 5x7 or whatever? Okay, we'll get into all those details as well. The text size, you know, depending on how much written word you have, if you're going to use illustrations, if you're going to keep your chapter page blank, that's all going to factor into how many pages you want your book to be. Also, book cover design. We're going to start to get into that. Probably not in part 4, but we're going to touch on that and use that as kind of a little teaser, probably for 5. And then there's going to be, of course, a lot more. But we'll get into some more details, you guys. Again, like, share, subscribe. Ask questions, comment down below, and we're going to keep this thing going. So hopefully you've really mind dumped and got a lot of stuff out there, out on page or on your computer, on your laptop, and we're going to go forward from there, you guys. So hopefully you feel good about this process that you're going through right now. I know it can be tedious. There's still a lot of work to do. But we're knocking it down. We're chopping down that tree one swing at a time, all right? It's all good in the hood. Like, share, subscribe. I'm Fugget, the fittest underdog guru using intelligent tactics, and we're going to get your damn book published. You got that? You copy? Over and out? All right. Have a good night, you guys.